Already, my first fabrics created right after college in years were a whole based on elements of worn-out fabrics, no longer needed by anyone, often bought in the so-called clothes stores. There, while rummaging in the sale garbage cans, I would search for interesting fabrics and pluck out pillowcases, dresses, and similar rags in the colors needed for the next work. Now I present a series of painting assemblage objects with elements of medicine blisters. And how did it happen that I reached for blisters precisely? In the autumn and winter of last year, I was exceptionally often sick. Perhaps it was an effect related to the COVIDian I had twice. As is usually the case at the beginning of a cold, I tried to treat myself. After a week, however, I would order telephone medical consultations, during which I would be given a handful of other medications. After a few days, when the phone evaluation and the medications dispensed proved not to be effective enough, and the symptoms did not subside, I would make an in-person appointment, after which I would buy a few more pharmaceuticals. And so the empty packages began to accumulate. And since I was sick, on average every 3 weeks, in the months of October 2023 to February 2024, some of it accumulated. Because perhaps by hamster instinct, or from some other motive, these silver, mostly glitters, in some strange way seemed interesting to me, also as a material and material for reuse. This is how the idea of the objects, later named EkoArtPills, was born. That is, ecological art pills. Although this name, for obvious reasons, should not be translated literally. To begin with, I asked for support in this collection, a clique of friendly people. However, after calculating that I need about 100 blisters per object, I decided that it was worth reaching more people. I decided to use Facebook and a circle of friends for this purpose, where I published a post in April with an appeal to collect drug packaging. This appeal received an excellent response. Quite a few friends contacted me, declaring that they would be putting the blisters away. By mid-July, I managed to collect a really significant number of blisters, from which, in the meantime, other objects were already being created. Medicines, as we know, they are ubiquitous in our lives, accompanying almost everyone. Almost everyone gets sick with something, for a shorter or longer period of time, and requires treatment, usually with pharmaceuticals. I think it's fair to say that we here today live in a post-COVID era. We are marked by the experiences of that time. Some of us may still be struggling with health symptoms, occurring as a result of complications.
The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the fragility of human life and the systems on which society is based, forcing us to reflect on our true priorities. Social isolation and lockdown caused many Poles to reflect on the importance of closeness and human relationships in an existential context.
And now I would like to turn to the ecological overtones of the presented works.
We are living in the age of the Anthropocene. The term was proposed in the year 2000 by Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, Paul Crutzen. The term refers to the negative impact of human activity on the functioning of natural processes occurring on a global scale. According to Crutzen's claim, the beginning of this era occurred about 200 years ago and is ongoing today.
At this point, I want to look at the plastic data.
According to now-environment.pl, plastics, including packaging made from them, are an integral part of the global economy. Their production has increased from 15 million tons in the 1960s to 311 million tons in 2014, and is expected to triple by 2050. While these plastics provide many benefits, they also have many drawbacks. The report states that plastic packaging is usually used only once. So 95% of the value of the packaging materials, $80 to $120 billion a year, is irretrievably lost.
Taking into account the projected increase in consumption, it has been calculated that, as early as the year 2050, there will be, by weight, more plastic than fish floating in the oceans. At the same time, the recycling rate of plastic waste is only 14%, although it varies depending on the type of plastic. For example, the global recovery rate of PET bottles is more than 50%.
You may have encountered the concept of circularity or the circularity gap.
The idea of circularity is about resource management and reuse. It is characterized by the reuse of materials. This concept is often used in the context of a closed-loop economy, circular economy. Green innovation and responsible waste management can bring us closer to a circular economy. With the lack of effective legislation, there is no chance of real change without a responsible approach by business and consumers themselves. 89.2% is the gap in the circularity of the Polish economy. So there is a lot to do in this field.
The painting and assemblage objects EkoArtPills presented at the exhibition today are in a certain conventional way part of the idea of circularity, as the blisters, collected and sorted, have been transposed into art objects. Thus, they constitute in the next stage of the circulation of raw materials. To put it succinctly, it is art made from garbage. I want to emphasize that the EkoArtPills objects are largely the fruit of the interaction of a certain group of people united by the universal experience of illness, but also by the positive experience of non-intersectional support and interaction. The blisters used on my objects were collected by friends from Facebook. There, a collection was conducted among friends. Thanks to them, it was possible to collect a really significant number of blisters, which made it possible to develop a series of EkoArtPills objects.